Let me ask you something. What if the non-stop chaos of your life, the endless notifications, the pressure that just keeps mounting, that feeling of being pulled in a dozen directions at once, what if all of that wasn't a battle you just had to endure? What if it was actually a training ground for a stronger, calmer mind? The legendary samurai of feudal Japan were more than just masters of the sword. They were masters of their own inner worlds. That unshakable calm they had, even when facing death, their incredible focus in the middle of a battle, that wasn't an accident. It was forged, it was trained, and their secret weapon was Zen. I'm going to share 5 of their most powerful principles for mental training. And these aren't just dusty old ideas from history. They are timeless tools you can use right now to handle the chaos of your own life. The samurai's true battlefield. First, to really get this, we have to understand why this mental training was so important to them. For a samurai, the real fight wasn't on the battlefield, it was in their own mind. Their code, Bushido, called for incredible courage, loyalty, and self-control. But you're not just born with those things, they have to be built. Zen was their blueprint for building them. It gave them a practical way to develop the mental toughness and discipline they needed to face anything with a calm focus. They knew that being physically strong didn't mean anything if the mind was weak, distracted, or terrified. So they learned to sharpen their minds just as carefully as they sharpened their blades. It was a complete system for psychological strength. And this combination of warrior code and ancient philosophy is just as powerful today. We might not be facing duels at dawn, but we have our own battles with stress, anxiety, and sometimes just feeling lost. The principles that gave the samurai their edge can give you yours too. Warrior Code 1. Find Mushin, the mind of no mind. The first principle is a state the samurai worked to achieve in everything they did, Mushin. This translates to no mind. Now that doesn't mean an empty head. Not at all. Mushin is a mind that's free from the clutter of fear, anger, and ego. It's a state of pure instinct and presence, where your mind and body act together without a single seam. Think about the last time you were completely lost in an activity, so absorbed that the world just melted away. That's a little taste of Mushin. The samurai trained to reach this state so they could act decisively, without the hesitation that a worried mind always creates. Our minds are almost always busy. We're thinking about the next meeting, replaying something someone said, or worrying about a deadline. All that mental chatter is the enemy of clear, effective action. Mushin is the cure. It's about letting that internal noise go, so you can respond to what's happening right in front of you with your full, undivided attention. So, how do you even begin to practice this? The gateway to Mushin is learning to quiet that noise, which brings us to the second principle. Warrior Code 2. Forge your focus with Zazen. If Mushin is the destination, Zazen is the path to get there. Zazen, or seated meditation, was the foundation of a samurai's mental training. It's a very simple but powerful practice. You just sit quietly with a straight back and focus on your breath. A lot of people hear meditation and think the point is to completely stop your thoughts, which of course feels impossible. But that's not it. The goal of Zazen isn't to have a totally empty mind, it's to stop letting your thoughts control you. You sit, you breathe, and when a thought pops up, which it will, you just notice it without judging it, and then gently guide your focus back to your breath. Every single time you bring your wandering mind back, it's like a push-up for your brain. You are training your attention. Doing this every day is what built the samurai's legendary focus and allowed them to stay present and calm in the middle of total chaos. For us, this practice builds the exact same muscle. It trains our ability to step back from the non-stop stream of anxieties and distractions. Just by practicing Zazen for a few minutes a day, you start to build a quiet sanctuary inside yourself. You learn to watch your own mental state without getting swept away by it, and that is a genuine superpower in the world we live in today. Warrior Code 3. Conquer fear by confronting impermanence. This third principle is maybe the deepest, and it gets to the very heart of our biggest fears. Zen philosophy talks a lot about impermanence, the simple truth that everything in life is temporary and always changing. For the samurai, this wasn't a depressing idea. It was liberating. They took this idea all the way to its logical end, accepting their own death. By meditating on and confronting the idea of mortality, they were able to rise above the fear of it. This didn't make them reckless, it made them brave. When you're free from the paralysis of fear, you can act with total clarity and purpose, completely in the moment, instead of being crippled by what if. We might not face literal life or death battles, but our lives are full of what you could call small deaths. The end of a job, a project that fails, the end of a relationship. We're terrified of these endings, and honestly, the fear usually causes us more pain than the events themselves. If we adopt the samurai's mindset, we can learn to accept that life is always in flux. We can start to understand that setbacks aren't forever, and that change is the only thing that's guaranteed. This acceptance doesn't make you passive, it makes you resilient. It lets you face challenges without being crushed by the fear of loss, helping you build a deep and steady inner peace. Warrior Code 4. Build resilience through non-attachment. This next warrior code flows right from accepting impermanence, the practice of non-attachment. There's a core Zen teaching that says pain in life is unavoidable, but suffering is optional. So what's the difference? Pain is what you feel from a tough event. Suffering is the extra layer of mental torture we add on top by clinging to how we wish things had turned out. Suffering comes from being attached to a certain outcome, to what other people think, to our own ego. The samurai practiced non-attachment to stay focused and effective. They couldn't afford to be emotionally destroyed by a missed sword strike or a plan that went wrong. They were committed to their principles and their honor, the process, but they stayed detached from the immediate result. This let them act, learn, and adapt without being crippled by disappointment or pride. In our own lives, we cause so much of our own suffering by tying our happiness to things we can't control. A specific promotion, a certain number of likes on social media, and the belief that life should always be fair and easy. Practicing non-attachment means pouring your energy into your actions and your values, but learning to let go of the results. It means feeling the sting of a setback without adding that second arrow of beating yourself up over it. This mindset is the foundation of real mental resilience. Warrior Code 5, the discipline of repetition. The final principle is the glue that holds all the others together, discipline through repetition. A samurai's skill didn't come from raw talent, it was forged through thousands and thousands of hours of practice. They would practice their martial forms, their kata, until the movements were as natural as breathing. But this wasn't just physical, it was mental. Every time they practiced a kata, they were also practicing focus. Every time they sat for zazen, they were practicing awareness. This relentless discipline is what created their mastery and self-control. They understood that becoming excellent at anything, including the craft of living, is the result of consistent, dedicated work. The virtues of Bushido, courage, honor, self-control, weren't just ideas to think about. They were qualities to be lived out through daily action. This idea is a direct challenge to our modern craving for quick fixes and life hacks. Real mental strength doesn't come from one big aha moment. It's built slowly, brick by brick, through the discipline of just showing up every single day. Whether it's a 5-minute meditation, taking a moment to reflect, or sticking to a new habit, it's the consistency that forges your spirit. These 5 principles, Mushin, Zazen, impermanence, non-attachment, and repetition, aren't just interesting facts from history. They are a practical guide for building a mind that is resilient, focused, and strong. They offer a way to navigate the beautiful chaos of life with a sense of grace and purpose. I'm really curious which of these warrior codes connects the most with what you're facing in your life right now. Is it the need for a clearer mind, for deeper focus, or for the courage to handle change? Let me know down in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're on this path of building a stronger mind and a more intentional life, think about subscribing for more ancient wisdom for our modern world. The path of the warrior isn't about fighting others, it's about mastering yourself. The samurai used Zen to find clarity in chaos, courage when they were afraid, and a sense of purpose in everything they did. They taught us that the mind can be like a wild horse pulling you wherever it wants, or it can be your most powerful and trusted ally. The choice comes down to one thing: training. You don't need a sword or a suit of armor. These 5 principles are your tools. Start small. Pick just one thing to focus on. Maybe it's just taking 3 deep conscious breaths when you feel stressed, or sitting in silence for 2 minutes every morning. The inner warrior isn't born in a single grand decision. It's forged moment by moment through quiet, consistent discipline. Your training ground is your life. You can begin today.